So welcome back, Elaine, to another Art of Letting Go live session. Great to have you here. Let's have a look at our daily quote for today. And that'll lead us nicely into our mind training material. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, so yeah, if you can read that quote from today's lesson, actually. Workbook Lesson 16 we're on to.
Yeah.
To kick it off.
There is no more self-contradictory concept than that of idle thoughts. What gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle. Every thought you have contributes to truth or to illusion. Either it extends the truth or it multiplies illusions. Yeah, I've just been talking about that.
Yeah, so all thought has power. All thought creates form on some level, contributes to the truth or to illusion, extends the truth or it multiplies illusions. And you must choose. So thoughts about the world, about life in the world, about what your problems are, about the past and the future, that's all multiplying illusions. The truth extending would be feelings of love and peace and joy, and you extend that to other people in your thoughts, your words, your actions, and you feel expanded. There's a sort of heart expansion when you do that. So again, emphasizing that we have to choose between these thought systems. He's emphasizing the power of our thoughts, reiterating that every thought is either a positive one that extends truth or a negative one that multiplies illusions. I'll say that as negative, because negative means that it's negating the truth, right? That's why it's called negative. We say negative, and it's just, so commonly used. We don't even know what the word means anymore. But any negative thought is a thought that denies the truth, and all illusions deny the truth. So all illusions are then by definition negative. So the entire world of form, everything you perceive in form, your thoughts about it, your emotions about what's happening in form in the world, to your character in the dream, all of that is negative of the truth. And we must start extending the truth instead, rather instead of negating it. It's the only way back to the truth. Okay, so this idea leads nicely into the topic of today's recorded discussion and meditation session, during which we spoke about physical pain, illness, tiredness. Often in these courses, when people are really going through this process, they experience quite a lot of that as part of the undoing of the ego. So we talked about how the ego, or the belief in separation, uses the body and bodily conditions such as sickness, fatigue, pain, aging, and so on to try to prove its apparent reality in our minds. So if these things are real, then it's proving to us that we really are a separate self, and that we really just live in a body. The body's real. We're governed by the body. Eventually, we're going to age, suffer, and die. But when we're doing transformational practices like meditation and forgiveness or letting go, that's designed to loosen and ultimately undo the ego's grip on our minds and lives, it's really not going to like it at all. So there's going to be a lot of resistance to this process, but nevertheless, we must persevere. We must push through that resistance because we understand why it's so important. So one of the ego's primary defense mechanisms is the body and the apparent conditions of the body, like sickness and physical pain, seemingly make us feel separated, alone, fearful, and sorry for ourselves. None of that's ultimately true. So then we looked at the lesson. We did a healing meditation on today's lesson, which is I have no neutral thoughts. So good session. Listen to that if you can. There's a podcast as well if you don't want to watch the video, which is on Facebook. Wow, that's 6 years ago. It was 2019, but it doesn't matter. That stuff is timeless.
No, yeah.
The beauty of these discussions is they never actually age, date, because these issues are timeless. We're still dealing with them. So, but because it's quite short, I recommend you watch this bonus talk by David Hoffmeister on mastery through love. It's a really good one. About the difference between the egos and the Holy Spirit's thought system, and how the ego insists on mastery through fear, which is the basis of all attempts to improve what we perceive as our separate selves and the world in which we think we live. Okay? So mastery through fear says the world is real. We've got to adapt to the world. You've got to be street smart. You've got to be savvy. You've got to set your goals. You've got to take action. You've got to make it happen. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And the ego's in charge. And that is a thought system that many teachers in the personal growth industry teach. You've got to take charge. You've got to make it happen. Set your goals. Be proactive. And this is what David Hoffmeister is calling mastery through fear, rather than through love, because it's all based on the idea that you're a separate self, the idea that you're somehow lacking something. And now by doing all these things, you're going to get what you want, which is going to improve yourself. And you're then going to have this amazing life. But it's coming from the foundation of lack, of scarcity. Okay, well, I'm not okay really as I am. It's very problematic. Whereas Course in Miracles and genuine spiritual teaching say, no, I'm okay as I am. Yeah, I'm absolutely okay just as I am. There's nothing else I need to do. I don't need to change or fix myself. I accept myself as I am. And then I flow forward from that point. If I'm enough, I'm feeling enough, then my thoughts, my words, my actions all follow that. And then I'm guided by the Holy Spirit. So a really good talk, yeah. Insightful, thought-provoking talk. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. If you have listened to it, listen to it again. Really highlights this difference between the thought systems. Mastery through fear, mastery through love, are very different approaches to the conundrum of our lives. And as I said, there's a whole industry dedicated to mastery through fear, which is why by and large it doesn't work. Whereas the mastery through love approach is the only approach that is going to work. Which is what Yeshua is suggesting we do with this course. When you let go of the ego and all of its horrors, then what's left is just the love, the true, pure form of someone, perfect love that you are. Okay. So any questions on any of that? That brings us to our live session quite nicely. So let's jump into the lesson. Have no neutral thoughts. Just give me a moment to bring up a recording. So have no neutral thoughts. This is lesson 16. Very, very simple lesson. Doesn't need any translation. But what does it mean exactly? What is this? So he unpacks it for us. If you can read what's on the slide, actually, which was from you. So thank you for sharing this with me.
Have you got most of them? Because I can, I have got the upload of all of them. So let me know if you need any.
What for the rest of the year? I got the first 50, I think, around, and then
all right.
and then
Well,
it stopped.
I'm sure I can get the others as well, so I can forward. Let me know when you need them, because I had done the full.
Yeah, great.
So let me know.
It'll be when we get to about less than 50. I recall, and then it stopped. Yeah.
Okie doke.
Brilliant. Thanks. Thanks, Elaine.
Yeah. No, no,
Okay.
no.
So,
No, because these are good. I have
you
no
can read
neutral
that.
thoughts. Yeah, I have no neutral thoughts. They all carry results. They all make a difference to the content of our unconscious mind, to our self-concept, to the world. And then it says, we view the vast middle ground of the thought spectrum as not having any appreciable effect. Nothing could be further from the truth. And then they've got a little block there. The false self-concept is formed, and then on the other side is our true identity is revealed. And so it's got a diagram, and there's little faces there, like when you go into the airport toilets and you have to hit which one you think it is. So there's an angry face, sad face, neutral face, okay
Yeah.
face, and yeah, right. And so the diagram on the side of a false self is I am weak, afraid, angry, attacking, hateful, hurtful, bad. This is the reservoir. And on the other side, it's saying, this is still on the side of the false self. So you're in touch, it's saying, or sometimes in touch with, not in touch with. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's talking about degrees of being in touch with the ego or the Holy Spirit. Really, yeah. So yeah, interesting. Not in touch. Sometimes in touch, in touch. So I can get it on the left-hand side. So I'm weak and afraid, sometimes in touch, not in touch, hateful, hurtful, bad. Um, and then saying invulnerable, holy. On this side, not in touch, sometimes in touch, in touch. I'm not entirely sure though that whoever did this slide has got that accurate, because if you're invulnerable and you're holy, then you must be in touch with your source, which I assume is what it's meaning. But anyway, you get the idea. It's beneficent and good and forgiving and loving and invulnerable and holy. And these are the results that come when we choose the Holy Spirit's interpretation of everything. We start getting happier, more forgiving, kinder, gentler, more loving results. Love through our hands, so we extend love and we get peace in our mind instead of war. So we attack other people and we have fear in our mind. Very, very different realities that we can choose. And you do see those juxtaposed in this world. Someone who's chosen a genuinely peaceful, loving life is going to be a very, very different person from someone who's chosen the ego as their guide and is constantly in conflict and fearful. It's going to be a very, very different kind of person, different life, different mindset, different behavior. Chalk and cheese, really, and they're never going to agree. This person's going to go, what are you smoking? I mean, this is just delusional thinking. The world is a fearful place, and you've got to protect yourself. You've got to defend and protect yourself against, all these harsh, unkind, cruel people. But none of that's true. Okay, and then just the last bit, also quote from the text, chapter 8, section 2, if you can read that.
As you see him, you will see yourself. As you treat him, you will treat yourself. As you think of him, you will think of yourself. Never forget this, for in him you will find yourself or lose sight of yourself.
Yeah, very. So therein lies the source of the golden rule, right? If everyone is really yourself, capital self, then as you treat them, you're treating yourself. Do unto others as you have them do unto you is really enlightened self-interest. Because if you attack them, you're attacking yourself. And you're never going to find happiness and inner peace if you do that. So in him, you will find yourself or lose sight of yourself. Okay. So let's read it, shall we? You want to read paragraph 1?
Yeah. The idea for today is a beginning step in dispelling the belief that your thoughts have no effect. Everything you perceive is the result of your thoughts. There is no exception to this fact. Thoughts are not big or little, powerful or weak. They are merely true or false. Those that are true create their own likeness. Those that are false make theirs.
So, thoughts on that?
Well, just talking about your true or the false thoughts, and each will be like whatever it is, it'll be in the same likeness.
Yeah. So if we thinking from our ego as a separate self, then that is going to create its own likeness. We're gonna get a bunch of false thoughts, false situations. It's going to create stress and drama, conflict, and then the ego says, "Oh, well, that's reality." So yes, those thoughts are justified. Think more of them. Think more angry, attacking thoughts, because that's what reality is showing you is real. And that's how we get totally trapped into our egos, because apparently our thoughts then create the reality that we perceive, and we perceive that as real, which reinforces the thought system that made it, and it becomes a self-reinforcing loop, self perpetuating system that carries on until we are willing to interrupt the pattern and say, well, maybe actually this isn't true. Maybe what I'm seeing as out there as my reality is just a projection of my own mind. And if I choose to let it go, then I can free myself from this. And this is the path of letting go and of awakening that Yeshua is teaching us. Okay, so you want to read the next one, or should you want me to? Do you want to alternate? Shall I read?
Yes, please. That would be good.
Okay. So there is no more self-contradictory concept than that of idle thoughts, in quotes. What gives rise to the perception of a whole world can hardly be called idle. Very well pointed out. Okay, so we've invented a whole world. This isn't idle. It's seemingly had some pretty powerful effects. So every thought you have contributes to truth, capitalize an alternative, or to illusion. Either it extends the truth or it multiplies illusions. You can indeed multiply nothing, which is what an illusion is, but you will not extend it by doing so. So he's trying to just make a distinction here between truth and illusion, that our thoughts are powerful because our mind is powerful.
Mm.
And we can't deny that power. We can't say, oh, well, I don't want my mind to be powerful, so it doesn't matter what I think. No, it does matter what you think. It has your thinking has effects. So what you need to do is control your thinking. Can't just allow any old thought in and to dwell on it, which is what the mind training process we going through is all about. Can you learn to control your thoughts? Let go of the ones that don't serve you and allow the ones that do. Can indeed multiply nothing. So it's the idea of multiplying what is actually an illusion, what is nothing. And we see how the ego does that. We've got a negative perception, and that creates drama, and then it multiplies the nothingness into more drama. But you will not extend it by doing so. Extension is coming from your true self, or Holy Spirit. Okay, so happy to go on to number 3.
Yes. Yeah, I was just going to say, I've just now had a message from the vets. We have to go and collect the dog. So I don't know how long we're going to be here, but we need to go and pick her up. So, because it's
Okay, right now, or can you finish the lesson?
to be honest, it's probably better if I can just go now. But yeah, yeah. So it's going to be. That's a shame. It's a good lesson.
Well, why don't we just finish? There's 5 paragraphs, so we'll just finish
Okay.
the
So okay. Yeah.
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 Hmm. And then you can go.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 3.
Yeah. Besides your recognizing that thoughts are never idle, salvation requires that you also recognize that every thought you have brings either peace or war, either love or fear. A neutral result is impossible because a neutral thought is impossible. There is such a temptation to dismiss fear thoughts as unimportant, trivial, and not worth bothering about that it is essential you recognize them all as equally destructive, but equally unreal. We will practice this idea in many forms before you really understand it.
Hmm. And what's he saying?
It's
So,
just saying that, we can dismiss certain thoughts as neutral, but it's saying
hmm.
that none are trivial or unimportant. They're all equally destructive and equally
Hmm.
unreal.
So
That,
typically what often happens is people say, oh, well, it's just a little bit of anxiety or it's a little
mm,
irritation. It's nothing really. And
mm,
they dismiss it. But it is something. It's the tip of a very big iceberg. And if you've got an anxious thought, you've got an irritated thought, and these recur, it's the tip of the iceberg of the ego that's showing itself, which is needs to be addressed. You just sweep it under the carpet and say, oh no, it's okay, it's just a bit of irritation, it's completely normal. No. That means when you're irritated, it means you're denying your source, it means you're denying who you really are, it means you're believing in a false self, which enslaves you into an identity of a separate self, a body, a victim, which is doomed to suffer and die. So no, it's a big deal, right? That little bit of irritation is a problem. That's what
mm,
he's saying.
mm,
And you need to really become vigilant of these little thoughts that are not in alignment with spirit. So the vigilance is a necessary prerequisite for awakening. Because if you're not vigilant, then they just carry on, and you go, oh well, it's okay, I'll just tolerate it. I can be irritated, I can be anxious. If it's kind of on a low level, I can kind of just accept it as normal, a normal part of my day. Which is how I think a lot of people live and how they kind of function,
mm,
carry on operating. And it's sort of very low level dysfunction or medium level dysfunction. And they're only going to do something about it when the dysfunction becomes really overt and strong, and they're really suffering. And then they're like, okay, I can't handle it anymore. But yes, just trying to train us to say, go, and look at the little areas, and realize that they're just symptomatic of a much bigger problem. This identification with your ego, and that they're all an opportunity to let go of that ego and just keep then practicing the letting go. So don't just let them slide and kind of cover over them and ghost over them, because it's not really dealing with the issue. So then he's saying, apply the idea for today and just search your mind. Try not to overlook any little thoughts. So whatever the thoughts are, don't dismiss them. Just use them. Oh, I'm a little bit irritated. Don't go, oh, that's nothing. Go, no, okay, well let's look at that.
mm,
Quite difficult until you get used to it, as he says. But it's still hard for you not to make artificial distinctions. So we tend to say, oh, well, that doesn't really matter. That's just insignificant, but that's quite a big deal. Something else is quite a big deal. But these are all artificial distinctions that we're making. Every thought that occurs to you, regardless of the qualities that you assign to it, because that's all we're doing, projecting, onto it, is a suitable subject. So this is teaching us that they're all the same. All our thoughts are the same. So we treat every thought the same. It's part of the long range training of teaching us that an illusion is an illusion is an illusion. All thoughts in an illusion are the same, whether they seem to be big or small, or really vicious or ferocious, or minor irritation. So apply this to your what happened with the dog attack. if you get minorly irritated with anyone or anything, then at the extreme of that, when that is acted out, that becomes a vicious attack, as you saw in the dog. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So Yeshua says at some point, a minor irritation is just a cover for intense rage and attack. So that's where the vigilance comes in. Okay, so I'm a little bit irritated with Dave or whoever else, but I need to recognize that that is really just a cover over this a much deeper intention to attack and murder and kill, and I've seen that in action, and it's horrible. So when I'm having that minor irritation, I'm really a murderer and a killer. Do you see that the process that Yes was taking us through? Because if we realize that, we're not going to do it anymore. It becomes much more serious. Wow. Okay. So in this moment of minor irritation with someone, I am actually saying I want to kill you and just murder you in cold blood in a vicious, violent way, and in the same way as the dog was trying to do to your dog. And you saw that acted out and the horror of that. Is this something I really want to do? No. And then you change your mind. You let go of the irritation because you've amped it up and you've said, actually, it's part of a thought system that is a killer, that's a murderer, that has inflicted all the pain and suffering that any sentient being has ever experienced in this world. I don't want any part of that. So the irritation has to go. And then you realize, well, it's not a neutral thought. This thought process leads into the idea, okay, whatever I'm thinking about isn't a neutral thought. And it's not a neutral thought because I have no neutral thoughts. Especially if it feels uneasy. So this thought about, say, for instance, your dog is not a neutral thought. You might go, okay, but what's wrong with my dog? Or what's wrong with thinking about a friend? Or what's wrong about looking out on a good sunset and appreciating it? But this is about saying be vigilant of all your thoughts. This isn't a neutral thought. So, is this coming from the ego? Is this coming from the spirit? That's the question, which you need to answer through the experiential practice of the lesson. The more you practice this, the more you practice the exercise, the more you come to know. Okay, I'm getting the understanding on experiential level of what is true and what's not. I'm understanding on a deeper level there are no neutral thoughts. That thoughts are either going to be coming from the true self, my true self, or the ego. And I need to be continuously vigilant because as long as I'm in this world, I'm in the ego's domain.
So, like the dog, obviously, you expect our dogs and cats to be loving creatures, but of course, clearly, they have a vicious, murderous streak in them, just like people.
Yeah,
So they have ego in them.
of course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Any sentient being in this world that's incarnated into form has an ego, otherwise it wouldn't be here.
yeah,
It's decided it's chosen a separate self, and to come into that identity and the body that goes with it in this world, rather than stay in pure formless awareness of perfect love. So yes, by definition, anything that's incarnated has an ego.
Mm.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have incarnated.
It's just like to say you can get the most sweetest dog, and then you've got the most vicious, murderous dog. So it's quite bizarre.
Yeah, because we live in a dualistic world, these polarities.
Mm.
Sweet, loving animals and people, and it all seems to be wonderful. And then on the flip side of that, when the ego gets hold of it, it's a train smash. It's a disaster.
Mm. Well, it's vicious and murderous. Yeah.
Yeah, murderous, vicious, unkind. So what you got to realize is even a minor irritation is really just an expression of that vicious, murdering streak. And when you are irritated with someone, you're really saying, "I want to kill you.
Mm.
I want to
It
murder
can
you."
come automatic, though, isn't it? That something that, say, Dave's done that's irritated me. But I haven't got this thought that I want to murder him, though.
Yeah. So I mean that's at the extreme. But the reason why he's saying this is because you need to go, okay, I'm irritated, but that is part of the thought system of murder that we're trying to
Oh,
undo.
so
So
yes,
don't,
right,
yeah.
yeah.
A minor irritation is a cover for intense rage. He says that in one of these early lessons, I believe. Minor irritation is a cover for intense rage. So we need to recognize that and then not just dismiss the minor irritation. So, well, that doesn't matter. No, it does. It's the tip of the iceberg. And if you're going to get rid of the iceberg, which you must do if you're going to awaken, then you have to start somewhere. Well, you start at the tip and you work your way down into the thought system that underlies it, and start letting it go. Okay, so we don't really have time to practice on it, but you can just do this. Well, just do a minute. So we won't go into meditation. Just look around, take a breath, look around, close your eyes, and then just say, this thought about whatever it is. It might be something in the room. It might be the dog. You've now got to go to fetch it, and just say this thought about whatever doesn't is not a neutral thought, and then move on to another thought. So scan your mind. Any other thoughts? You can open your eyes if you like. You look around the room. Just thought about whatever you're looking at isn't a neutral thought. Just repeat that for a couple of thoughts. And if there's any kind of uneasiness, any discomfort, then use this form. Say this thought about whoever or whatever it is not a neutral thought because I have no neutral thoughts. So that sort of qualifies as well. There are no neutral thoughts, so it can't be a neutral thought. Ego is going to tell you that you could get neutral thoughts, but that's not true. Every thought entrenches an illusion or liberates you from it. So you might say, well, what about making a cup of tea? Isn't that a neutral thought? No, because it's dualistic. You're still thinking about a body that's going to do something in form, make a cup of tea for the body to imbibe, and that's going to be a pleasant sensation for the body. It's all part of the construct of the ego. There's no need for tea and drinking and any of these things in pure formless awareness of perfect love. Okay, so practice that again. He's saying 4 or 5 times, just for a minute or so. I've sent you a breath break to help you do that. Also, a longer meditation, which you may want to listen to later when you get back. Just practice it using the breath breaks and meditations, and if you as needed. So if you go to the vet and you find yourself being triggered, just say this, remind yourself this thought about, whoever or whatever it is isn't a neutral thought.
No, well, yes. So, the trauma of yesterday, they're all images occasionally coming up. So do I just say this image about is not in a neutral image? Obviously the peak of the attack was quite horrific to watch. So is that,
remember, the attack was unreal. So the attack's unreal, never really happened. Now you're thinking about it. You're thinking about unreal and you're making it real. So that's not neutral. That's making they're making the whole situation real and reliving the trauma. It's definitely not a neutral thought at all. No. It's easier with more extreme things. You're thinking about the attack and you're feeling stressed and you're feeling upset and whatever else. Clearly that's not a neutral thought. It's taking you into drama. It's all the subtle things. I'm making a cup of tea.
Right, yes.
Think about that. But that's not a neutral thought either, because who's making a cup of tea? Who's the self that thinks it needs tea? Who needs to drink or eat or do any of these things? So that thought entrenches the ego's thought system. Now, that's not to say you should never make a cup of tea, but just be aware of the fact that you're thinking within the ego's domain. Don't get attached to it. Yeah, okay. If I'm operating in the ego's domain, then it's okay. I see what it is. Just that it's not a neutral thought, and so I need to be vigilant of my thoughts. And that's really what this exercise is designed to do, to just teach a level of vigilance, which you're not accustomed to. Okay.
Okie doke. Yeah, that's
Thanks,
good.
Elaine.
you.
Session. So practice well. We've had 2 in a row. So tomorrow I can do one tomorrow earlier at about 4 o'clock, either in the afternoon or 4 o'clock latest, but not in the evening. So if you want to do one tomorrow, otherwise we could do Thursday. Thursday afternoon, or I can do the evening as well. What works
Thursday
better?
afternoon. Yeah, Thursday afternoon would be good. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 o'clock Thursday.
2 o'clock. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, right.
Thanks.
See you then. Thanks very much. Bye. Namaste.
Namaste. Okay, so that is a wrap for today. Thank you to Elaine for joining the session. And if you enjoyed it, then a couple of things you can do. So sign up to the channel, subscribe to the channel. You can also go to lifebuild.com. You can see that in my background, which I normally have. I don't have it on today, but maybe put it on for you, and you can see it in the background. So just type in lifebuild.com into your browser, or there'll be a link to click if you're looking at this video on YouTube, to go there, and that'll allow you to sign up to my Telegram group. I send out free quotes, daily inspirational quotes, mind training material, some of which you saw, the daily lesson, some free meditations, blog posts, and invitations to join these live calls, with the link to do that, which you can do free of charge for a couple of weeks. So check it out, take the next step, do what you feel inspired to do, and I hope to see you on the inside of the group or one of these sessions soon. Thanks for watching or listening, and namaste, which means the truth in me acknowledges and honors that same truth in you. I'm wishing you much love.